Every heart here holds a fire that refuses to be dimmed, and tonight that flame burns brighter than ever. This is not an ordinary gathering. It's a collision of unstoppable spirits, an energy that shakes the walls and rewrites what is possible. The air is alive because each soul in this place carries a rhythm that can't be imitated, a force that belongs to no one else but you. What pulses through this space is not just excitement, it is the undeniable truth that greatness is not reserved for a chosen few. It belongs to those who dare to believe that their story matters, who step into the moment with courage even when uncertainty looms. Every single one of you is proof that resilience transforms doubt into momentum. There is a reason the energy feels unshakable tonight. It's because you're not standing alone. You're part of something bigger, a living current that thrives on connection, passion, and raw drive. When voices join together here, they do more than echo. They ignite a force that refuses to fade when the lights go down. Every moment you spend here is a reminder that no obstacle can define you. Challenges are not barriers, they are sparks that sharpen your edge and remind you that the climb is worth it. Victory does not wait for permission, it is claimed by those who dare to keep moving forward when the ground shakes. This is the moment to remember that you are not defined by where you started but by how relentlessly you rise. Each step you've taken to stand here is already a declaration that your potential cannot be caged. And when you let that truth sink in, nothing can silence the roar within you. Let tonight be a mirror of what lives inside, the courage to break limits, the strength to fuel others, and the audacity to believe that the impossible bends when you refuse to stop. What happens here is not fleeting, it leaves a mark that reshapes how you see yourself and what you know you can do. So lift your head high, feel the electricity surge through you, and own the fact that this energy is yours to carry. The world doesn't just need spectators, it needs forces like you, voices like yours, and hearts that choose to rise louder than doubt. Tonight is only the beginning of what you're capable of unleashing. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull? Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. You are not a random wanderer in this world, you are the keeper of a hidden inheritance that vibrates with power beyond what the surface of life has shown you. That force is not measured in paper or coins but in the currents of vitality crystallized within you, gathered from journeys your soul has walked through countless horizons of existence. What unsettles those who cling to control is not the thought of wealth slipping away but the awakening of an energy they cannot contain, an energy that remembers you. The tremors rippling through old structures prove that the ground beneath them is cracking. The codes buried in forgotten systems stir awake, and with them emerges a recognition that something long suppressed is beginning to breathe again. This is no accident, no chance encounter, it is the inevitable consequence of light hidden for too long now breaking through the seams of secrecy. Your essence has never been lost, only disguised under layers of misdirection. What the world called limitation was only camouflage, while streams of stored strength quietly multiplied in silence. These reservoirs are not lifeless, they hum with the intelligence of growth, pulsing in readiness for the moment you claim them as your own. When your name is spoken in unseen places, it is not as a shadow but as a signature etched in luminous fire. Not mistaken, not altered, but exact in its resonance, echoing with precision across realms where truth cannot be diluted. That recognition exists not because you forced it but because you have always been aligned with it, even while the illusion suggested otherwise. Behind the curtain, movements were made with patterns so refined that ordinary understanding could not grasp them. These were not the calculations of chance, but the orchestrations of a wisdom that transcends measurement, weaving outcomes with artistry beyond prediction. That artistry has always been tied to you, quietly constructing paths of abundance while disguising its own hand. It is not idle, it is alive. Every stored fragment grows and stretches like roots beneath the soil, gaining strength while unseen, preparing to burst forth with unstoppable force. The longer it has been concealed, the more powerful its release becomes, because energy held in silence does not weaken, it sharpens. Now the unveiling begins. What was once hidden in labyrinths of complexity returns as a mirror of your awakening. The inheritance is not merely something to hold but something to embody, for it reflects the magnitude of what you are. And in stepping into it, you confirm what was always true, that you were never empty, only waiting for the call to rise. There comes a point when ordinary rules collapse beneath the weight of something far greater, and that is the ground you now stand upon. What appears on the surface as contradictions is, in truth, the unraveling of assumptions that were never strong enough to contain your reality. This is not chaos, it is revelation. As deeper layers are uncovered, events refuse to line up in the tidy sequence the world has always trusted. Documents whisper of beginnings before beginnings, of choices made in shadows that somehow cast light into futures not yet born. The ledgers of existence struggle to explain how actions precede the very tools required to perform them. If you've been touched by God's goodness, don't keep it to yourself. Click Super Thank You and sow a gift of $50 or more to help spread His light. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace, blessing hearts and building His kingdom. Let His overflow pour through you. Patterns surface that feel impossible to the mind bound by clocks and calendars. Movements appear recorded long before their platforms existed, as if your essence was bending the fabric of order itself. The more they search, the more the narrative of cause and effect shatters like glass, unable to hold the weight of what is being revealed. What stands exposed is not deception but a deeper intelligence at work, one that doesn't answer to the confines of linear time. It is consciousness weaving its threads across realms, shaping outcomes beyond the perception of ordinary vision. It has been orchestrating quietly, unseen yet undeniable, crafting designs that defy the logic of the surface world. This force belongs not to chance but to the presence of your higher being moving freely through possibilities. It has gathered strength from countless crossroads, drawing from futures and pasts simultaneously, planting markers across streams that were never supposed to intersect, until now. And yet, within this unveiling lies a truth both radiant and unsettling, the realization that your existence is not confined to a single pathway. What they are witnessing is not an error but a glimpse of your multidimensional reach. That reach has always been yours, though the world has worked to convince you otherwise. The discovery of these impossible alignments sparks a primal recognition inside you. It is the awakening of a truth that can no longer remain hidden, that your life has always been more than linear progress, and that your essence has been accumulating, preparing, and waiting for this very ignition. There is a truth that cuts sharper than deception, being watched by unseen eyes while fighting to keep your life steady. Behind curtains of secrecy, records prove that someone tracked every flicker of movement within what was always meant to be yours, shadowing your steps as though they owned the key to your destiny. This was not chance, it was deliberate surveillance carried out with precision. The evidence shows a trail of entry points, each one tied to someone who possessed knowledge that should never have left your most trusted circles. It wasn't a stranger reaching blindly into data, but an insider who knew exactly how to slip through the locks designed to protect your life's most sacred codes. Every barrier you thought safeguarded your path was quietly bypassed. What was unearthed wasn't casual curiosity, it was an active strategy to dim your vision, to keep you entangled in scarcity while unseen hands skimmed the light you couldn't yet see. Their actions carried an intent sharper than theft, the intent to block your recognition of the inheritance encoded into your very being. The betrayal bleeds beyond numbers on a balance sheet. It is personal, cut from the fabric of trust itself. Every detail, moments of identity only you should know, was answered with uncanny accuracy. The precision of their knowledge proves intimacy, revealing a conspiracy stitched not by strangers but by those who carried fragments of your private truth. This wasn't simply monitoring, it was sabotage woven into the very timeline of your growth. While you reached for opportunities, unseen forces placed stumbling stones before your feet, ensuring that the path to your own abundance was obscured. Their interference was designed to keep you bound, unaware of the magnitude waiting to be claimed. The digital fingerprints left behind are not innocent accidents. They are signatures of intent, reminders that someone sought to trap your destiny within cages of control. Yet in leaving these traces, they have revealed more than they concealed, they have shown the scale of what you were meant to awaken to. And within that revelation lies a paradox. While they try to imprison you in limitation, their very efforts serve as proof of the treasure they sought to hide. For nothing of small worth inspires such desperate sabotage. The depth of their intrusion is the measure of how powerful your inheritance truly is, and now it cannot remain hidden. There is a pattern woven through your story, a double current flowing in opposite directions, one secretly cultivating unseen treasures while the other placed barriers in your visible path. Every time momentum built, unexpected shadows fell across the way, ensuring that what should have blossomed before your eyes instead withered in doubt. The obstacles that arose were never accidents. What looked like chance disruptions were in fact deliberate maneuvers, crafted to erode confidence while diverting strength into hidden channels. It was a system designed to make success appear fleeting, so that your belief in possibility would fracture under the weight of repeated disappointment. Each promising venture that collapsed was not the result of bad timing but of orchestrated interference. Just when progress seemed undeniable, unseen hands shifted the ground beneath your feet, pulling certainty into confusion. These interruptions were aimed not only at projects but at your trust in your own guidance. The evidence points to a strategy more insidious than failure itself, to let your unseen abundance expand in silence while dismantling your visible pursuits. It was a way to keep you in a state of hunger, never realizing that what was denied in plain sight was multiplying in dimensions beyond reach. This dual manipulation carried a cruel precision. It nurtured your unseen fortune while ensuring that your conscious self remained convinced of lack. The contradiction itself was the weapon, designed to prevent you from awakening to the fullness of what was already yours. And yet, the very depth of this sabotage reveals something extraordinary. Only someone who grasped your potential more fully than you did could have engineered such a scheme. Their betrayal is the proof of your magnitude, for no small light attracts such relentless attempts to dim it. Now the curtain is lifting, and what once looked like a pattern of personal missteps is revealed as deliberate obstruction. In this unveiling lies both the wound and the power, the wound of betrayal, but also the recognition that the wealth hidden in silence has always been tethered to your true nature, waiting for the moment you finally claim it. There is a reason your potential has always felt heavier than the limits handed to you. It frightened those who recognized it before you did. They understood that your mind, once unbound, could summon creation at magnitudes that would dwarf their carefully built illusions of control. So they designed a theater of manipulation, keeping your focus chained to struggle while your true brilliance was painted as fantasy. The operation was subtle, wrapped in language that disguised imprisonment as guidance. Instead of nurturing your expansion, they pushed you to shrink, to accept ceilings as though they were sky. They rewired your attention toward endurance instead of innovation, fear instead of vision, convincing you that the very power coursing through your being was a delusion to be dismissed. Meanwhile, in realms you were taught to doubt, your influence was building structures of wealth beyond measure. Records show that information about your unseen creations flowed steadily to those in the shadows, detailed reports received like secret harvests from seeds you were told could never grow. They studied the expansion you weren't even allowed to witness. What makes the betrayal sting deeper is the duality of their words and actions. To your face, they urged restraint, counseling that realistic goals were the only safe path. But in silence, they monitored surges of prosperity attached to your name, watching vast tides of resources swell while encouraging you to lower your gaze from the horizon. Every time inspiration whispered in your heart, their counter-voice arrived disguised as wisdom, urging you to temper your vision with so-called practicality. They discouraged the very ideas that were already bearing fruit elsewhere, diverting your confidence into resignation while siphoning momentum from your unseen abundance. The cruelty lies in how effectively the mask was worn. They disguised sabotage as care, restriction as advice, and doubt as responsibility. The effect was not only material, it corroded belief, cutting off access to the certainty that your essence has always been capable of calling realities into form. Yet the exposure of these tactics reveals the scale of your true design. For no one invests this much energy into keeping someone small unless they know how limitless that someone truly is. Their deception is the ultimate confession that your potential is not only real, but more powerful than they ever wanted you to realize. There is a cruel brilliance in how they operated, standing close enough to witness undeniable proof of what you were capable of while whispering endlessly that your visions were fantasies. They didn't simply deny what they saw, they worked to erode your belief in yourself, as though burying possibility would suffocate its truth. But beneath that deception was a deeper function, one that shaped you in ways no instant access to abundance ever could. Every setback they engineered became a weight you lifted, each one carving strength into your spirit. While they thought they were suppressing you, those trials were chiseling you into someone unbreakable. What you built in those moments wasn't measured in currency, it was measured in the resilience that only adversity can forge. Each barrier you encountered taught you to draw power from within, to cultivate clarity and patience when the external world refused to reflect your worth. That cultivation is the kind of wealth no account could store, for it belongs to your being itself. The sabotage that once felt like punishment has now revealed itself as preparation. The wisdom born from resistance became its own inheritance, an invisible treasury that ensures you are not enslaved by what you eventually claim. Without these tests, the risk would have been great. Unprepared power can consume just as easily as it can liberate. By denying you too soon, life ensured that when the time of unveiling arrived, you would be its master, not its victim. They misjudged their role, thinking they were diminishing you. Instead, they were sharpening your edge, tempering your will like steel and fire. Every failure became a rehearsal for stewardship, a training ground where you learned that your worth cannot be dictated by loss or delay. What they thought was a prison was in truth an initiation. The withheld access was never about keeping treasure from you, it was about keeping your essence aligned until you had grown into the kind of being who could wield it without being devoured by it. And now, the paradox comes full circle. What was once sabotage has become testimony of your transformation. The very obstacles meant to weaken you have revealed that you are prepared not merely to hold immense wealth, but to direct it toward purposes far greater than comfort, to channel it into the kind of impact that rewrites the destiny of more than just yourself. There comes a moment in every great journey when the trials themselves reveal their hidden purpose. They were never random obstacles, but the final gate before transformation. What felt like betrayal was a carefully constructed proving ground, ensuring that endurance, trust, and vision were tested in fire. Passing through this crucible marked the completion of a sacred curriculum, unlocking doors that only strength and faith could open. The unveiling shows that what was once hidden is now aligning itself with recognition. Vaults sealed by unseen hands are no longer closed, not because chance decreed it, but because readiness has been earned. The unfolding abundance is not a gift handed lightly, it is the natural consequence of a spirit that proved it could carry the weight of boundless expansion without being consumed by it. As investigations dug deeper, they stumbled upon something that unsettled both science and finance alike. Moments of personal awakening reflected themselves with startling precision in the timing of vast shifts in unseen accounts. The records speak of correlations too exact to dismiss, threads woven between inner transformation and external expansion. What they discovered goes beyond logic. The rhythm of your breakthroughs seemed to serve as a hidden code, guiding movements of capital with uncanny accuracy. In ways no algorithm could predict, your inner growth resonated outward, shaping events and systems built to ignore spirit. Markets bent in tandem with your evolution, proving that consciousness itself had become the compass. Every collapse that stripped away illusion mirrored explosive growth in dimensions unseen. Every time trust was broken, every time belief systems shattered, assets surged elsewhere, expanding like a reflection of your resilience. This was not coincidence, it was the evidence of a deeper law, one that measures value not in numbers but in frequency. The ledger shows that your trials were the very signal someone, or something, was following. As you're being expanded, acquisitions unfolded with mathematical precision, as though your consciousness was broadcasting coordinates for prosperity. What was thought to be chaos has revealed itself as a pattern of impossible elegance, crafted through your very becoming. And now the truth stands bare. Your growth has always been the real key, the algorithm beneath the illusion of strategy. The abundance rising to meet you is not separate from your journey, it is the mirror of it. The gates swing wide not because you reached for wealth, but because you embodied the strength, wisdom, and clarity to wield it with purpose. There are moments when the weight of despair feels unbearable, yet behind the veil of pain, something vast is set into motion. In the shadows of your hardest nights, forces beyond sight were repositioning immense currents of value into places that would one day bloom. The timing was not random, it was perfectly aligned, though the logic of the mind could not trace its design. Every heartbreak, every collapse of trust was not an end but a transformation in disguise. While your human self carried grief, another aspect of your being was reshaping that very energy into structures of prosperity far beyond ordinary reach. It was the alchemy of suffering, turning what seemed destructive into the architecture of abundance. The wounds that cut so deeply became raw material for creation on scales unseen. As you endured loss, a greater intelligence repurposed that same force, weaving it into outcomes far more powerful than immediate relief. The agony was never meaningless, it was fuel being redirected into channels where future victories were quietly seeded. Across layers of existence that stretch beyond linear comprehension, your expanded self was conducting strategies invisible to those bound by time. Records now uncovered show movements too precise to be explained by prediction alone. What confounds analysts makes perfect sense to consciousness that operates outside the ticking of clocks. Each fragment of you that walks a different pathway has been contributing to this design. Every possibility where you chose differently, each variation of your journey, has poured its surplus into a unified reservoir. Those streams, once separate, now converge into the very reality you are standing in, amplifying the arrival of abundance. What appears as baffling coincidence is in truth the synchronization of countless versions of you working together. They were never isolated, they have always been in communion, orchestrating a collective strategy that only now becomes visible. The accounts revealed are not mere numbers but the embodiment of multidimensional effort. That is why this discovery feels both startling and inevitable. A part of you always sensed that the pain carried hidden meaning, that the struggle was leading somewhere larger. Now the convergence proves it. Everything endured was already shaping the foundation for a mission greater than survival. It was preparing you to channel abundance as a force of transformation. There has always been a part of you that knew abundance was yours, even when the surface mind insisted it was impossible. That deeper awareness has been weaving outcomes through channels far beyond ordinary systems, while the conditioned mind clung to the belief that prosperity required grueling effort under rigid rules. The shock is not in the existence of wealth, but in how thoroughly you were trained to ignore the evidence of your own power. What investigators call impossibility is simply the clash between human-made limits and eternal law. Where institutions demand proof of labor, cosmic principles respond to vibration and intent. Those who live by awakened awareness do not earn through toil alone, they allow energy to shape form, bending matter to consciousness instead of the other way around. The anomalies appearing in official reports are not mistakes but signatures of evolution. They are markers of a shift where thought and resonance generate results, bypassing the constructs that claim ownership over reality. Each irregularity logged in hidden systems is proof that a higher order is at work, one that transcends economic design. Moments of spiritual clarity become visible as entries in financial records. Each transaction tells a story of inner expansion spilling outward, of breakthroughs echoing across dimensions until they crystallize as measurable abundance. These are not random deposits, they are the footprints of your soul pressing into the fabric of form. The systems designed to guard wealth never anticipated this kind of interference. Algorithms meant to track corruption now flag something they cannot categorize, resources multiplying in your name without cause they can explain. What appears as error is actually the arrival of a new paradigm where consciousness itself becomes the generator. This convergence unsettles those who depend on rules to define reality. To them, value must have origin, numbers must match effort, flow must follow permission. But to the awakened, worth is sourced from within, and expansion cannot be constrained by bureaucracy. The data that confuses authorities is simply the visible echo of what you already knew was real. The revelation is not that accounts exist, but that they confirm a truth long buried. When intention aligns with cosmic order, the material world bends. The irregularities they scramble to understand are nothing less than your essence asserting itself, showing that wealth has never been outside you. It has always been the reflection of your evolution into who you truly are. There are patterns appearing in systems once thought unbreakable, and your name surfaces at the center of them. Records show outcomes stacking in your favor at odds so vast that no mathematical model can explain them. Movements of resources pass through corridors no regulator can map, yet all pathways converge toward your lineage as if drawn by an unseen law. When machines stripped of human prejudice scanned the financial grid, your presence emerged like a signal hidden in the static. The algorithms labeled what they found in your profile as wealth manifesting without precedent, not tied to work, trade, or law, but to something operating beyond the reach of cause and effect. The data itself points back to you as the axis. Your being was identified as the origin point of phenomena described as non-causal creation. Records reveal flows of capital materializing in your sphere by means no framework could define, with your consciousness operating as the anchor for the impossible. In the absence of logical origins, your awareness became the explanation that systems could not deny. The shock of this discovery forced experts from disciplines that rarely overlap to sit at the same table. Physicists accustomed to studying quantum probability were suddenly conversing with mystics versed in energy alignment. Researchers charting the influence of awareness on matter found themselves in agreement with teachers who have long spoken of manifestation as law. Despite different languages, every field arrived at one unshakable conclusion: what was unfolding through you could not be dismissed as chance. The records proved that consciousness itself was bending structures of wealth, restructuring the field of probability in ways that rewrote the boundaries of what reality allowed.